So my name, as you already said, is Falk Heinrich. I'm working as a researcher within the humanities. I have a background as an actor and theater director, and my PhD is also on dramaturgy. And now I'm the head of research of RELATE, the Research Laboratory of Art and Technology at Aalborg University.
And I'm environmental engineer. Work for more than 20 years with sustainability in various ways, almost always as an action researcher, so working with civil society, politicians, government, companies, always with the purpose of getting environmental knowledge into decision making, which is tricky, yes. Which is the point of departure from here. Because we will start with a quotation by Shivastava. The more I know about sustainability, the greater my eco-footprint grows. This illustration of the limited correlation between environmental scientific knowledge and actual decision-making or pro-environmental behavior.
Yes. Reading this quote, I thought, okay, so what's the point? Should we know less? Because that's what it's actually saying. Or should we know differently? And of course, I think the second solution is the one we should aim for. So know differently.
Mm. So acknowledging this limited correlation, I started working with Falk, but also with the artists that we'll present in a minute, because something different is needed. Like the knowledge that my colleagues and I can bring into the processes is definitely not enough. So we have explored in a different ways, but this is just one case we'll present today, how we can bridge science and art and scientists and artists.
Yes. So.
And we have done the work in cooperation with Pelle Brage and his partner Julia, but mainly Pelle. Pelle is originally from Denmark, educated from the Art Academy, now lives in Norway. And normally Pelle is out in public spheres and not in art museums. But this case and this collaboration was brought into like the established art museum from the city where we live, and also designed by Alvar Aalto, if some of you can recognize, of Kunsten, which is the art museum of Aalborg. And besides, we have worked together before on a land art installation where I also brought my students into the work, did that with Pelle. The whole idea was to see this new knowledge, how to bring together the physical, emotional and cognitive engagement as a premise for, or prerequisite for commitment to sustainability.
So the premises for our project were, or is?
So, am I too fast, too
slow?
No,
too slow. One more. Thank you. We have something called artistic creation, personified by our artist, Pelle, and by art forms and art genres. This is normally known as free associative play with materiality, for example. He works very much with the wood or with contents idea. Then we have scientific knowledge, and Lone is the representative for this, which is verifiable facts on the basis of empirical investigations, and as you said before, also as change agent, but still on the basis of scientific knowledge. And then we have what I call academic synthesis. This is more theory-driven creation, which I see myself here. And this we have to merge in one way or another in order to create an event or a project. So let's see what is the result of this.
A few pictures from the garden of the art museum Kunsten. This is Pelle and I, and what you can see is a bunch of kids and youngest up here playing with us. They're the ball track idea consists of ball track elements, where you can create ball track universe that Falk will return to. The installation also covers notions related to sustainability, where the participants has to choose and also create notions related to sustainability. All these notions are written, illustrated, written on different signs. You see some here, there's one there. And at the finally, it also consists of a storytelling, where they should tell a story about their future life.
Yes.
You want to say more?
Yes. Okay. I would so characterize our project, or the result of our project, something like interactive installation unfolded as a workshop event with kids and teenagers. And this installation also stood there for several months. This summer, without us conducting a workshop, and then it was just a playable installation, so people could just play with those trackball elements and build their own trackball. The signs, some signs were fixed here, and they also could play with the signs, but there were no instructions given in form of a instructor like us or Pelle.
Not, yeah. But still, like, it's framed with what could like a future life look like if you were the one deciding, making the ball track of the future, your own life, your family, the society, depending on what level you're at. There were like different balls, like the balls that, as Falk mentioned, was like symbolizing yourself. So you had to choose a ball, big, small, red, yellow, metal, wood. This is one example of one of the ball tracks, one of the future scenarios for what a life could look like, different path, different notions attached to this story, or to this, just a few examples of what they could look like, the notions. Here there are also some of the youngest made their own one. Here it says like no top tax. One of the other signs were saying like citizen salary, or there were all kinds of different different notions. Others were like this one of the kids deciding like, should I choose to bring into my future ball track, my future life investment in science, or would I like the gold jewelry, or all these decisions upon what to bring into your life, the Queen, reduced work time, package tour to Thailand, or whatever. The storytelling. Want to say something to that?
Each group had to present a story, the story of their ball, of their future eye, to us and the rest of the groups. So they have to invent a future, and they also have to deal with the complexity of life, that they couldn't just pick the good notions like behavior, but also other notions that just makes up life.
So, very simple, what did we experience and what did we find here with this interactive installation workshop events with the kids and the teenagers?
Yes. This presentation today will concentrate or focus on the artifact. So what kind of artifact did emerge here? And I would call that the multidimensional participation artifact in a way. So multidimensional participation, it's not something that emerges. For me, it is still something that is added. So we have all those different dimensions brought in by the artist, brought in by me, brought in by Lone, and we added those things and combined those things into what I call the multidimensional participation. So we have the sculptural installation, and Peter was very, very fond, or very keen, and very. This is also a sculpture. This is a wooden sculpture, and he also explained to the kids that this is a sculpture and has sculptural dimensions, aesthetic dimensions as well. But also, it was not only a sculpture, you could play with it, you should play with it, you should find solutions. I mean, they are very rough in a way, and they didn't fit in height, so they have to find stones or other materials to heighten it or to lower it, and so to make this ball track, to make the ball run and roll to the end. So it's very functional. They had to use their body. They had to work in groups. They had to discuss. They had to have visions and to also finalize the visions. 5 minutes, okay. Then next. Then we had those notions, the associative field, as I call it. It's another functionality. So it's not only about building a ball track, it's also to relate to those notions. Okay, it's another layer. They had to negotiate between ideas, values, and facts. I'm hurrying up a little bit now. And we have the storytelling. They have to communicate it as well. Not only speak within the group, but also speak to others, speak to us as well. They have to concretize, to present it, to uncover internal and external context, structural, ideological forces that complicates things. It's not that easy.
So what did we find? For me personally, it was very interesting. I'm a mom as well. They're grown up now, almost all. But for me to work with the kids and the youngers, the teenagers, very different than working with the government or companies or my adult students at university. And so it was very nice experience in various ways. So looking into what we found, again reflecting upon the quote at the beginning, like us grown-ups, like our carbon footprint as an indicator of our unsustainable behavior is just increasing for most of us. But now we're working with the kids, like the next generation, and to bring in knowledge, awareness, possibly also action, and this indicated both effective and conceptual participation. We did some video observations, we made follow-up with those participating. And what we could see, or what we have seen, is that they have learned something new about environment and sustainability. The awareness of the importance, especially for the youngers, has really increased for those participating. Also, a reflection upon the courses. Why are we here? Why are we using like 1.3 planet beyond the planetary boundaries as our life today? But most of all, or at least for me, it was to see that the self-empowering belief is increasing. That's also why I'm quite positive, because that's also what I see with the young students, that there is this sense of making a difference. And I just took a few quotes here, like saying, what was the most important thing you learned here? Yourself have a lot to say about sustainability and the environment, and that one human being can make a difference. And for me, that's very promising. And that they left there with a better sense of them having the power to actually make a change, but also ideas about what to do differently themselves, but also in their surrounding. Then we did, and now I'm also speeding up. I can hear that. I can sense you here in the back. So a few observations.
Yes. The storytelling part of the ball track experiment uncovered the participants' life issues. I mean, and they are quite different if you work with kids, younger kids, and as when you work with teenagers. The teenagers actually, they weren't really interested in sustainability, in environment. They were interested in sex, in erotics, in sexuality. And you could actually take that and make it an event, an artwork, or what it is, and work with the teenagers with their themes. So what we learned is that sustainability issues have to emerge from or be embedded in the participants' life issues. And those are very different if you work with a grown-up or if you work with a little kid. Should I also say the next one? Yes,
fast.
and then we also had this experience that sometimes we came, or the artists came to say this is an art installation, and we also asked them, is it an art installation or not? And this showed to be a disturbance, actually, because already small kids, they have fixed images on what an artwork is. It is something exhibit in a museum or art, you can go around, you can contemplate it. Those were their words, not so. You could just stand in front and imagine things. And this is actually not very fruitful for our experiment. So we decided, or I decided to not to call it art, but to call it something else, event or something, because this societal distinctions are really disturbing. And we will going to say a little bit more on art and science, art and artistic methods, academic methods tomorrow. And here also this division, this distinction is societally grown and disturbs in a way, or makes it very rigid. So maybe we should find another vocabulary or other words to describe what we actually want to reach or want to do.
That's it.